everyone, it's Ashley, and today I'm bringing you a Canadian author recommendation video. I asked you guys on Twitter if there were any videos you guys really wanted to see, and somebody commented and said that they wanted me to do like a Canadian author, Canadian book recommendations video. In the process of looking for books by Canadian authors to recommend to you guys, I realized that I actually haven't read that many Canadian authors. So if you have a favorite book by a Canadian author or a favorite book that takes place in Canada, comment down below and let me know, because I'm officially going to make it a goal for the rest of 2018 to try to read more books by Canadian authors. So without further ado, here are 4 books that I highly recommend that are by Canadian authors. The first book on this list is also the only YA book on this list, and that is Exit Pursued by a Bear by E.K. Johnston. This is a retelling of A Winter's Tale, and it follows Hermione, our main character, who goes away to cheerleading camp and gets raped at cheerleading camp, and it follows her journey, herself, and just also like how her town reacts to it. And I found that I didn't love the characters as much as I wanted, or the storytelling quite as much as I wanted, but the way that the author deals with rape and rape culture is so well done in this book. It was a little bit different than you see in mainstream media, and I really liked how she addressed how the character dealt with it. So for that reason, I would highly recommend this. It's also super short, and a lot of people really loved it. Like, I've seen a lot of people give it 5 stars. Just for me, I wanted more from the side characters that I didn't quite get, but I would still highly recommend it. Next is completely different from the first book, and that is Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, and or all of the Scott Pilgrim series by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is the series I decided to recommend by Brian Lee O'Malley, but he's written a lot of comics and graphic novels, so there's lots to choose from. This is just my personal favorite. I absolutely love the Scott Pilgrim series. It's so much fun. It incorporates like character building and like multiple side characters, multiple plot elements, while also incorporating this like fun like video game vibe to it. And if you've seen the movie Scott Pilgrim, which is also phenomenal, the series takes the video game element a little bit further, and also the characters are way more developed in the series than they are in the movie. So I would highly recommend reading it if you haven't yet. It also takes place in Toronto, so not only is the author Canadian, but like the story also takes place in a Canadian city, and if you're from Toronto, you will probably notice a lot of the places in the series because they're like very staple Toronto places. The next 2 books I have to show you also take part in Toronto for part of the book. The first one is All Are Wrong Todays by Elon Mastai. I loved this book. Again, this book gets like mixed reviews. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally adored it. The main character is like kind of dumb, but like in a way where you're like, this is a little quirky, and like it's just, I find it really different than a lot of other things in this genre. It is a time travel book, but like science-y time travel. It takes place in what would have been our present day had something happened in the 60s, and the main character lives in what should have been our present day, and basically he screws up time and ends up in our current present day. I literally flew through this book. And also, Elon Mastai is Canadian, and he's also a screenwriter. If you've seen the movie The F Word, or I think it was called What If in North America, he wrote that, and I love that movie so much. It has Daniel Radcliffe in it, so I highly recommend like this author as a human, but I also really loved this book. And last but not least, I have my most recent Canadian read, and that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I loved this book. It is literary fiction. It follows a post-apocalyptic world where a like flu hits the world, and 99.9% of the population dies from this flu, and the rest of them are left with like no energy, no batteries, no electronics. They're basically back to like centuries ago type living, and it follows a like traveling theater troupe who performs like orchestra and Shakespeare while they travel to all these tiny towns to perform for them. And the whole book is kind of like a 6 Degrees of Separation character type book. There is an overarching plot, but also all the chapters kind of veer off to talk about different characters that connect to another character from the book. So like all of the characters in the book connect to one another in some way. It's so well done. The character building is perfect. The world building is outstanding. The writing was just flawless. I loved it. highly recommend, could not recommend highly enough. As a sidebar, this was a You Choose pick. For those of you who don't know, I will leave all the details for You Choose in the description box down below, but basically I let you guys pick one book that I read every single month, and this was the choice for April. So I will be posting a review video for this book very soon, and once I do, I will leave it linked down below for you guys. I feel like it's kind of pathetic that I am a Canadian and I could only come up with 4 Canadian author / book recommendations. So if you have any Canadian author or book recommendations, please comment down below with them, because I actually feel terrible about myself that I have not read more Canadian books that I really, really liked. So I want to do that for the latter half of this year, but for now, these are the 4 Canadian authors / books that I would highly recommend to you guys, and hopefully I will be bringing you guys another one of these books in the next few months where I have more Canadian books to recommend for you guys. I also think I might film a video soon with books that I want to read that are by Canadian authors. So I do have quite a few books on my shelves by Canadian authors, but I haven't read them yet. So maybe I'll film a Canadian author TBR video in the near future. If you want to see that, let me know. And other than that, I will see you guys soon with another video. Happy reading. Bye!